Marvel's Midnight Universe was not really on my radar until I saw this panel. Welcome back, everyone. We're here today to talk about Marvel's Midnight Universe, a line that when it was initially announced, I had some feelings about it, and I have to say, I just came out of the panel for that, and wow. They've been cooking over there. They've been cooking. We're going to talk about it. But I wanted to just let you guys know I am currently at Comic-Con right now. That's why everything is a little different here. I was cosplaying as Fantastic Four today on the floor with Duck, and it was a super fun day. We tried to get into as many comics panels as we could today, and unfortunately we only made it into two. We made it into the Image Comics panel, where they were talking about some new stuff that's going to be happening, and we made it into the Midnight Universe panel. And that is what we're here to talk about today. Let's talk about Midnight Universe, though, because that is the panel that we just came from, and there is a lot to talk about. Now, before we get into this, I do have to tell you about my reaction to Midnight Universe, because when it was first announced, I was a little skeptical. I'm going to be real. I felt that Marvel had just done their Ultimate. DC is still doing Absolute, and it's been fire the entire time. And Midnight Universe felt to me a little too much like Marvel responding to DC's Absolute, because it is a horror-based universe. Marvel's Midnight Universe is basically the Marvel world, but what if everything was horror? What if everything was monsters or various different types of horror? So I love that. I love horror. And I actually love a lot of creators that are part of this line. So everyone was very surprised when they're telling me, you know, it's going to have Jonathan Hickman doing a horror version of X-Men. But I was just like, I don't know. I'm just feeling a little burnt out. I know I love Krakoa. I love Hickman. Percy is also doing a Fantastic Four book. I will say that is the one that captured me the most. The Fantastic Four horror idea. I was just like, you know, I kind of feel like that could be really cool, and like cosmic horror, there's a lot of potential. But going to this panel, I have to say, they didn't just sell me on Fantastic Four, which yes, I was dressed up as Susan for this panel, and I even went up and asked a question at it. It was really fun. We'll talk about that later on. But I'm not just sold on Percy's Fantastic Four, guys. I have been sold on all three of these titles. I am going to need to add all three to my pull list. My wallet is crying right now. Anyways, so what I think is so cool about this, one, they started off this panel by showing us all of this gorgeous art that they're going to have. We're talking interiors, we're talking covers, we're talking alternate covers, we're talking Peach Momoko in the lineup, okay? We are talking about also some amazing, some really fresh artists as well, that are coming in and doing very different kind of looks for what you would expect from a Marvel comic. So we are getting a wide variety of different styles in the artwork, and each book kind of similar, I guess, to Absolute in this way. Each book kind of has its own style, its own approach. But the one thing that I think is cool about this world is that it is united by horror. And I also know that like DC's Absolute, when I'm comparing this to that, is not necessarily a horror universe. But I guess why I just felt this might be too much the same is because DC's Absolute does have that kind of twisted version of the DC Comics world. It is like if, you know, it was like a darker approach to that, and it does also have these ties to the dark multiverse, which is something that I really love over at DC, actually. So that's why I say, you know, those feel similar to me. But after looking at what they're doing with these books, I actually feel like it is unique. And while they're going to have similarities in terms of them both having a darker tone, both DC's Absolute and Midnight Universe, I think Midnight Universe is really going full on horror. So that does separate them. And each comic is going to be approaching horror from a different angle, because of course within horror we know there is a lot of subgenres. The fact that they're approaching this as horror nerds, as a horror nerd myself, I approve very much of this approach. And a lot of what they talked about on the panel when it came to the story, aside from all this beautiful artwork that they showed us, and you are going to probably need multiple variants for this. I'm just going to tell you, like, when we're talking about the horror-inspired variants that are themed after specific movies, when they showed us these ones that were inspired by The Fly and Fright Night, just that alone is so, oh, it's so cool. Dang it. I'm like mad that it's all so good. So I feel like you probably will want multiple variants because there's just so many amazing ones that are stunning. And there are so many great artists that are tied to this project. And I'm really excited to see what they do. It is all going to be one universe. And when it comes to the stories, each writer that was on the panel discussed a little bit about what their approach was like in terms of them having a unique version of horror that they're each doing, you know? So when it comes to Fantastic Four, it's going to be eldritch horror, kind of mixed with cosmic horror. It's giving me a bit of Fatale meets Frankenstein. It's very, very cool, very weirdly fitting for Fantastic Four. I don't know how to describe that. It's like mad science-y. And this Fantastic Four book, the artwork is by Kev Walker. Also with the art, there are some elements of Hellboy that I'm feeling with that. And I mean, Hellboy is great. So we're approaching these stories from a very original place. Spider-Man is going to be more about, how would I describe this? Kind of the horror that we're living every day. It's very grounded in this idea of power dominating everything and how power can corrupt people. And so it's more about just the horror of living an everyday life in a world where you feel as though you cannot affect change. Kind of that fear of being powerless, but then also when you get power, what does that do to you? So that's fascinating. And I really feel like the art style in that book, I mean, it's so unique. I just feel like we've never really done something quite like that. There is a little bit of a manga-esque vibe to it, but it really feels like it fits somewhere between comics and manga. I don't really know how to describe the art in that one. So that one is Scene Trunk. The X-Men. Let's talk about the X-Men. Vampires, Jonathan Hickman. Did you write this for me? You can be honest. Did you write this for me? Vampires and X-Men, where the themes, and this was the question I went up to ask at the end of the panel, by the way. I asked, what are some key themes that you feel? Because for me, my favorite thing about horror is when the themes are tied to the type of horror, right? So I was just wondering if there were any specific themes they were exploring with their approach to horror. And Jonathan Hickman, for his, you know what he said? Loneliness. Jonathan Hickman needs to be stopped. He's a menace. He's a menace to our wallets, in my opinion. That sounds so fascinating, especially when you think about how being a mutant, it's really all about this idea of community, whether that's, you're being left out of someone's community because you're being ostracized, or whether that's you're finding community through a found family. So to take an idea of loneliness and put that in there, and also when it is such a group story, a group book, I mean, wow. Okay. Wow. All of their answers were honestly amazing. And after I watched that panel and got the ash can for it, did I even hold this up? Did I even show this? You know I went to the panel because I got the black and white ash can. There it is. When we were leaving, after we left, we got our ash can and we're heading out and we're walking around the hall floor now and we're just looking at stuff. And who do we run into? None other than Benjamin Percy, who came up and recognized me because I asked my question in my cosplay and said, that was a great question. And I was like, that's so nice. I'm paraphrasing, by the way. That might not be the exact quote. But he complimented my question choice. And it was so lovely. And then we went over to the Marvel shop and we bought some stuff. And at the shop, we were also recognized. And they said, nice question. And I was like, oh, this is so nice. So anyways, it was a great panel. And man, I'm just excited. I'm excited to read comics. I'm excited about books. I'm excited. I don't know what to tell you. I have been at Comic-Con this entire time, by the way, so if you've been missing my streams, if you've been missing me, just know that I am out here and I am making content for you guys and I'm working on it, all right? So I will have some more stuff coming up for you, including we went to Hall H yesterday, we saw Lanterns, we saw the Vampire Lestat. I'm gonna have videos on both of those. That'll also be happening. And I just heard in Hall H, speaking of Hall H, the Marvel presentation was happening. And apparently Ryan Gosling's going to be Ghost Rider. What? So there's going to be a lot for us to discuss in general about San Diego Comic-Con. And I'll also have vlogs over on my other vlog channel, which I will announce once it's kind of up and running. And I actually did my own panel while I've been here. I did a sold out panel about the best board games ever, and it was so much fun. So thank you to anyone that came to that panel. Thank you to my friend Daryl for having me on that panel. It was such a fun time, and I can't believe that there were people that had to leave, that came in that couldn't sit. It was so full. It's crazy. You can expect me to do reviews about these comics because guess what? They all come out on the same day, October 7th. Marvel is so confident in this line. They are giving them a week where it will only be Midnight Universe releases. So October 7th, that week is only going to be Midnight Universe. And I believe every time they release their issues, it's going to be the same week and it's reserved for them. It's the Midnight Week. So I'm excited to come back on Midnight Week and talk to you about our first one anyways. Talk to you about what's coming out and how I feel about it and, you know, if it is as good as it sounds. But I really think this is one that people should have on their radar. And I know there's a lot of other things happening here and a lot of exciting announcements that are related to other things that I love in other fandoms, and we are going to talk about that. But I mean, this is San Diego Comic-Con, and so for me, it's always been about making sure that I get to celebrate some of these beautiful books that brought us all here together in the first place, because that's what this con was born of, and that is still what it's very much about. And case in point, it's very hard to get in panels right now for comics because people are clearly loving the comics. It's doing well. Also, when people have ash cans, some people are going there just to get the ash cans, and some people don't even know what panel it is. So there's also that element too. But really, it's very exciting to see comic panels doing so well and selling out, and us having to line up an hour in advance to just even get a seat in a panel. Because what that tells me is people are excited about comics, and that's awesome. So anyways, thank you so much for listening to me ramble about this. I hope that you are as excited as me. Let me know if there is a book in the lineup that you feel like is a must-have for you, how you feel about this line in general. Let's talk about it down in the comments below. And let me know if there is any other news that's going on at San Diego Comic-Con that you'd like to hear my thoughts on. That's all I have for this one. I'll see you in the next one. And until next time, friends, stay nerdy. And as always, thanks for watching. Bye. And if you like when I yap about comics, I love to do it. And you can check out more of that by clicking right over here.